Alright, so here we go with part 3. I've got the cabinet wiped down and cleaned out, vacuumed out, ready to go. The old power supply and harness and everything here out, and we'll be, well, I'll hold on to it for other purposes later down the road if I need to. But new power supplies here ready to go in. I got the new harness here. This is a new old stock harness out of a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet with the entire harness assembly and everything. It's got the spade connectors and everything on there for the power supply hookup. All of the individual disconnects for player 1, 2, 3. You can see here that I'll be using this for the control panel quick disconnects, and there's plenty of wires in the player 3 harness to allow me to use that for player 3, player 1, player 2, and player 3, so that's all good. This all hooks to power supply and PCB, and some of the wires run to the coin door lights, and it's even got all of the connections, so this will work out perfect. So now it's just going to boil down to setting the camera up and getting the board installed and wiring everything up as far as it can be for where it's at right now. And then I'll work on getting this shelf mounted for the monitor. I'll get the monitor adjusted. It's got some convergence issues. I'll try and show that on screen and get the monitor installed and get everything ready and done to where all that's left is to work on the control panel and get the artwork installed. So that'll most likely all be in a part 4. I don't know how much is going to be included in part 3 here, but we'll see. So stand by one moment and I'll get to wiring this all up.
I get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think over to how close it starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe, and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye. I forgive the pain you gave to me so long ago. Sleepless nights I laid awake just begging to let go. I almost got to suicidal thoughts, but you stepped in. An angel sent from heaven showed me how to live again. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe, and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye.
Said that you you stay, but I guess my love wasn't enough. Was it me or was it you, love? 'Cause I'm dying to know. Why do you wanna end? Was it real or just pretend? Tell me, why do you wanna end? Was he really just a friend? No sign of you at all. Just pictures on these walls, reminding me of how you threw away all that we've gone through. Was it all just a game to you? 'Cause I'm dying to know. Why do you wanna end? Was it real?
Well, I got the board installed, the harness is all installed, everything is wired up except for this connector here coming from the harness goes to the speakers. Well, it's one speaker, but this is the connector that has to hook to it to run up to the speakers, so there's that connection. And then there's a connection here that comes off the harness for the corn door lights, and that's about it. Power supply is wired up, isolation transformer is ready to go to the monitor. I got the line filter installed, that's always been there. And it's basically ready to go. The Player 3 harness on the midway cabinet actually is the same pinout. Well, not pinout, but same number of pins, same size connectors, same distance gap between the pins, the whole 9 yards. It actually hooks up perfectly, even says Player 3 on it. So that's going to work out great. I may have to obviously move the wires around once I look the pinout up on this board for Player 3. But the good news is it meets up there perfect. And it comes around to the disconnects, which are conveniently right here behind the control panel, and everything will wire up nice and neat. So now it's time to really work on this frame support here for the monitor, and I'll build some side pieces to go underneath and glue them in place and screw them in place to support this, and I'll get to working on the monitor. So let's see how that turns out. Alright, so woodworking is done. I've got the panel cut, I got my supports cut, I got 8 holes drilled in each support to screw these supports into the side of the cabinet, and they're 1 1/4 inch screws I'm using, so they have plenty of bite into the cabinet without going through out the side of it. And then of course I'll glue these in place, then I'll screw the supports onto the main board, and then I'll be able to mount the monitors. So let's see how that turns out. Alright, so I got the support structure there all done. You can see it sitting back there, and I'm going to get it test fit, and if it all looks okay, I'm going to get it installed. So let's see how it turns out.
image, bringing back memories. Yes, I've been wasting like most of my life, watching paintings dry. I wanna take back the hours we last singing lullabies, lullabies.
All right, here it is. Obviously, you can see I had to use a spare piece of scrap wood that I had. That's why there's paint on it. But and then, of course, I didn't notice that this side of the wood was tapered when I cut the opposite side, so it has a taper on this end, which is not a big deal at all. And when I was screwing in the sides here, I got a little overzealous with the drill and kind of broke the corner off a bit, but it's still intact and it works just fine. Just some of the top layers of the particle board's broken off. But it's all secured in place, it's all glued in, and it's secure and tight, and it's not going anywhere. So that should work out perfect. You can see it's aligned with the original piece perfectly all the way down. And then the underside, I had to do some modifications here on the corner because it was actually hitting this piece here. The support that I cut was hitting this piece, so I just cut the front piece out of both sides here. So I had to go with 6 screws instead of 8. But it's nice and secure, should support the monitor very safely and very well. So let's get it mocked up and mounted and see if I can get it permanently affixed to this, and we'll see how it turns out. Actually, so I was trying to get this monitor mounted, and there was absolutely no way in hell that I could hold it in place and try and line it up and get it where it was needing to be without it trying to slide back on me. So the original board actually had a piece across here that would keep the monitor from sliding back into the, well, back here. And I forgot to put that in there. I was put the monitor in place, it kept sliding on me and sliding on me. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I went ahead and installed some of these bricks here, 2 actual reinforcement bricks, blocks if you will. I had to screw them in and move them and align everything, and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and finally got the monitor to sit just right along with the bezel. So I'm going to put the camera back on the tripod and I'll get the monitor in, and you can see just how everything lines up. And there you have it. It's in there perfect. These are actually glued and screwed in place. It looks terrible with the extra holes in there, but I wasn't going to cut new pieces because it's not going to be seen and it's not a big deal. But it rests on them just right. The angle is perfect as far as left and right, and it's perfect as far as position on where it needs to be. It will clear the back door. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show. You should see no neck board there. It should clear the back door just fine. Everything turned out perfect. And you just need to drill some holes and mount the monitor in there perfect. So as you can see, it's glorious. I need to clean. There was some sticky stuff on here from this bezel is out of a different game, and it had some sticky stuff on the side, so I need to get some alcohol and clean that off. But yeah, it's perfect. Everything's aligned, and it's got plenty of room for the glass to sit against here, and it's going to turn out just fine. So now what I'm going to do is actually wire up the monitor for power off the transformer, and verify and test all my voltages, give everything a good clean up again after getting, you can see it's all dirty from wood chips and stuff trying to get this thing in. Give it a good vacuuming out and cleaning, and get some voltages tested, and fire it up and see how it looks. So let's see how that turns out. Alright, so monitor's all connected. Disregard the wire nuts. They're just temporary so I can get some power on, make sure everything's working. I've got the ground hooked to the frame. We got voltage to the monitor. We got it coming off of the secondary winding of the transformer. We got the video line plugged in from the JAMA harness. And whenever you replace a power supply, you always want to test your voltages before you hook this up and power your board, because you never know what it's set to. So we're going to do that right now. I also want to make sure that I have 115 going to here and they don't blow the monitor up. So first things first is I'll turn the cabinet on, and then we'll do some voltage tests. So let's see what happens. Alright, so I got everything set up. Let's turn the cabinet on and see if anything blows up. Well, nothing blew up. I got an LED on the power supply. So let's see what kind of voltages we get. I have not adjusted anything yet, so you always want to test at the JAMA harness. When you first change out your power supply, you want to test at the JAMA harness. But normally you'd want to adjust your power with the board hooked up and testing at the board. But for this purpose, since a brand new power supply is installed, I want to make sure the voltages are correct. So before I even hook the JAMA harness to the board, I'm going to test the voltages. So let's see what we get. Alright, so we want our 5 volts first, 5.143, 5.143. That's pretty good actually, because by the time you get amperage draw, you're down to about 5, or a little over 5, so that's pretty good. Then we want negative 5, negative 4.1 is fine, and 12, 11.74. So yeah, we're good. I'd say that is acceptable voltage, so we'll change it to AC here. We'll make sure we got 115 at the monitor, which we do, 131, which is fine. So I will turn off the power. We'll hook up the monitor. We'll plug in the JAMA harness to the PCB. That's good, and let's see what we get. Video cable's hooked up, everything's hooked up. Let's see what happens. Let me go back around to the front of the machine. Alright, here we go. Oh, monitor came on, that's good. Speaker's not hooked up. Well, hot damn, look at that. Battletoads free play. It's still dip switches are set to 2 players, but there you go. And you can see PCB, power supply, isolation transformer. The yellow wires are for the coin door lights. Those 2 connectors there are for the speaker. I should probably hook those up and make sure I have good sound. But otherwise, that's it. It's working. You can see I do have some, well, the monitor actually looks really good. It's all original caps, original flyback, the whole 9 yards, but there is some convergence I need to work on, but it's only in the corner, so I'll probably need some convergence strips, but you can see slightly right there and slightly there, and on top of the free play. I could bring the red down just slightly, but yeah, it's the width is a bit too wide. I can change that no problem, and otherwise, yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. So I may hook up the sound and make sure that's working before. Oh, I got to hook up the power for the marquee light as well. That was working prior, so yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. So let me cut away here, and I will get the wiring hooked up for the audio, and we will see if that works. So one second here, one moment, sorry. Alright, so I got the dip switches set for 3 players and for to turn the attract mode on so I can tell if the audio is working. And everything that has the wire nuts and all that's it'll all be fixed properly and correctly and professionally, but for now it's just, you know, twisted together with wire nuts so I can make sure everything's working. And then I'll get it all cleaned up and looking better once that part of this deal comes around. But for now, let's fire this up, and hopefully it's on 3 players and I have audio. Oh, that's working. I also adjusted the, see that? No more, hey, there's the audio. And 3 players. 1, 2, 3. So I adjusted the convergence so now there's no more red outline on stuff, and it's actually perfect. So I need to shrink the horizontal width, and the monitor is perfect. So it's coming together real nice. So stay tuned for part 4. stay tuned for part 4 when we get this all completely done. All that's left is to get the control panel wired up. I'm waiting on the artwork. So most likely what will happen is I'll have to wait for the artwork before I can do the control panel. But I can get the monitor completely installed, get everything vacuumed out and cleaned up one more time, get all the wiring done permanently, if you will, or professionally, and waiting on the artwork, and I'll get the coin doors worked on, and part 4 should be coming here soon. So as soon as the artwork shows up, that'll be on the way. So stay tuned.